The following is an exclusive presentation of Jesup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
Well, good morning. Here we are on a Tuesday morning. It is the 4th day of June. Butch Hubbard here with you along with Bob Morgan. You're listening to the Big Dog, WIFO FM in Jesup, 105.5 when you're FM down. Now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by the Women's Health Center in downtown Jesup, also by Murphy Builder Supply in Northeast Broad Street, and by Mike Birch Ford in Blackshear. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
All right, we've got to get started. We got some guests in the studio this morning, and then we got Representative Betty Carter calling in just a few moments. So who do we have in right now, Bob?
We got Randy Trapnell with the Wayne County Food Service Program. Again, it's an award-winning program, but they've got a special program in the summer. We've been promoting it. Got underway yesterday. It runs every day, Monday through Friday, except for July 4th and 5th. So, Randy, it is a federally funded program, but your staff helps get it all going here in Wayne County.
Thank y'all for having us today.
I'll let you tell us all about it.
Okay, I'm here today with Sandra Bell, who's the high school manager, and Samantha Thornton, who's our school nutrition coordinator. And this has been quite an effort from everybody in the school system to get this kicked off. Kicked off yesterday. We had a great day. We're serving about 1,500 breakfasts a day and around 3,000 lunches per day. Wow. And this is a program, I know it's incredible. It's a program that is open to children 0 to 18. And it's like a mission to our county. It really is. And we're able to employ a lot of our staff and some students during the summer. So to me, it's a win-win. We're feeding kids and we're employing people.
Right, and you said it's a federally funded program.
It is.
It's not coming out of Wayne County's pockets, even though it benefits Wayne Countyans.
That's exactly right. Okay. That is exactly right.
And 3,000 lunches served on the first day.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
It is amazing. We have close to 30 sites that most of the meals are prepared at the high school. All the meals are prepared there, and then they're sent out to all these locations. So it's quite an organization to get it underway.
Okay.
We're working out the kinks every day.
So you said it's lunch. Is there breakfast too, or just lunch?
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast
about 1,500 breakfasts.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's no cost for these children to show up, right?
No cost at all. No cost.
And they just show up at the nearest, I guess,
site.
place to them, the next site to them.
And we have signs out. We put out signs yesterday, and most signs, they have like a picnic table in the areas that are open.
Spread all throughout the county.
All throughout the county.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good because if you got 30 of them, it's within probably either walking distance or a bike ride or just a quick ride up there to that. So the guardians, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever watches the kids during the summer can bring them there, or they can just walk up there.
And we utilize school buses. A lot of them are on school buses. We've got vans, trucks. David and Ray have really helped us out in that aspect for us to be able to get the meals to the students.
Okay.
And Sandra, you want to talk about what kind of meals are y'all serving? I mean, tell them about that local produce you're getting. That's incredible.
Yeah, we get local produce from Craig Sims, and we get peaches, fresh corn, strawberries, blueberries. I mean, we get a lot of stuff, and it's really good. The kids love it.
I went in yesterday, and they actually came in Sunday. We had fresh corn picked on Saturday. They wrapped it up and prepared it Sunday and cooked it and delivered it yesterday. So that's pretty fresh. We're very lucky to have that.
It's definitely a program lead. Anybody's been to one of these sites, sees how many kids come. I guess the question everybody keeps asking, this goes Monday through Friday. What do these kids do over the weekend?
Sandra worries about them all weekend, don't you?
I've been riding this morning looking for them.
Well, hopefully they eat at home.
Yeah.
Samantha, tell us about organizing all this. She's our mastermind in the organization. How long does that take you to get it together? She was out there last night till after 6.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like putting a puzzle together, really. Sandra's real instrumental in finding the locations that we go to. She knows the high population for children, like the areas to get to, different parks that have a lot of children that live nearby, apartment complexes and things such as that. So we just try to find the area that's most central to a lot of children, and
And the Bible study.
figure out
Bible schools?
the routes of them. Yes, we also offer vacation Bible schools at different churches. I want to say we probably have already had 6 or 7 churches contact us, and they come and pick up meals. Some come daily to pick them up already prepared, and some come and pick them up for the whole week of just like raw bulk food and cook and prepare it on their site. So that's another great way that we can, feed children.
Good. All right. And so the children just show up. What ages are we talking about here?
0 to 18.
0 to 18.
Yep.
Okay. And just any child in that age group can show up and get a free breakfast and or lunch. Is that correct? At one of these 30 sites throughout Wayne County.
Not all of our sites have breakfast right now, but I mean, if there's a need there for children that want to have breakfast at a site that's not listed as a breakfast site, let them know that lunch, and we can, surely take care of that.
All these sites are listed on our webpage, so if you want to check that out, and on our Facebook page, and you come by the board office and get information, and we've got them all up over town. So
okay. How many years has this program been going on?
We were talking, this is 17 or 18 years. 17
or 18 years, wow.
And it started out in my white minivan.
Were you delivering meals?
We were in Scriven. We were.
Absolutely amazing. And I guess the president in Congress 17 years ago saw a need for this and decided to fund it nationally for these children to get good, nutritious meals during the summer.
And it's an option to school nutrition programs throughout the state if they want to participate in this program. So we're one of many that do it. Mm-hmm. We have several around us that don't, but we're a lot of
not all 159 counties do, just X amount of them.
And a lot of them say they can't get the labor, but in Jesup, we've been very fortunate. We have a waiting list of people who are wanting to work. So
well, good. That's great.
It's great for us.
Now if I could just find that with bus drivers, huh?
That's exactly right. And we're actually employing some of those, yes. We depend on them through this program, too. So
well, it's a fantastic program for the kids out there to get the nutrition during the summer for breakfast and or lunch, and to be able to, because the nutrition helps them grow and have good mental and physical health and feel good. And so it's great that this service is available.
And we sure appreciate y'all advertising it for us.
Any way we can help.
We really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Helping us get the word
thank y'all for all the employees, the volunteers, everyone that makes this possible, the churches that get involved. It is definitely a community-wide effort to make sure these kids are fed during the summertime.
And we have, you want to talk about the reading program that they're reading? Amy Denny's helped head that up.
Yeah, so they've started a reading program over the summer. They contacted me about our sites before we got out of school, and different ones signed up. The one I know of for sure yesterday.
I see them.
Okay.
But anyway, they're helping us too. So
Bob, you want to close it on out, and I'll get ready.
Well, like I said, we appreciate you coming in. Like I said, we'll continue to advertise the sites, but again, a great program. So appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.
105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio, WIFO, and the School Nutrition Program, a great program that's being done nationwide, especially here in Wayne County. 10 minutes after 8 o'clock, world-famous Butch and Bob Show here for this Tuesday morning. And, Bob, we've got someone very special on the phone with us right now.
Yeah, Congressman Buddy Carter needed some time this morning to get some important information for some area farmers. Again, we covered the storms, the blueberry damage was done, but I understand some funding's been approved up in Washington, Buddy, so I'll let you tell us what's taking place and how much help is helping out the local farmers.
Well, it's good news. It's good news from Washington, D.C., which you don't hear very often, but I'm very happy to report that we did pass out of the House yesterday a $19.1 billion disaster aid relief bill. And included in that is obviously the damage that was done in southwest Georgia with Hurricane Michael. That was devastating. We've seen it. We know of the impact that it's had in that area. But it also includes money for the first district, and that is specifically for our blueberry farmers who suffered through 2 straight seasons of late freezes and that devastated the crops. In 2017, we had about a third of the harvest that we had expected. We were hoping for about 90 million pounds of harvest and only had about 30 million. And when that happens, obviously that's big. But when it happens 2 years in a row, it happened again in 2018 that we unfortunately had a late freeze that devastated the crops, and 2 years in a row was just overwhelming. But the good news is, again, that help is on the way, and this bill is now on the president's desk awaiting his signature. He has indicated that he will sign it, and I just want to thank everyone who had a part in this. Certainly Senator David Perdue played a big part in it, and Senator Johnny Isaacs and Austin Scott, and also Sanford Bishop. I believe in giving credit where credit's due, and Sanford played a big part in this as well.
So the big question is, if the president signs it, which he's expected to do, how do farmers get the help? What do they have to do?
Well, they'll of course go to the Farm Bureau, and they'll have to fill out the applications and everything, and fill out the forms in order to apply for it. But it should be a pretty streamlined process. That is our hope. And whereas it's probably going to take a little while before it trickles down there, it may be looking at a 6 to 8 week period before it finally funnels down there. At least we are a step closer than we were before.
Is this, buddy, Butch over here, is this a loan, or is this just right out help, and they got to apply for it?
No, this is right out help, and they will have to apply for it. And, as long as they can show where they were impacted, and most of them could. They've done this before, so I suspect they know know how the process works. But it's, it's a process by which they just have to prove that they did suffer as a result of the inclement weather and what happened. So,
basically, they had
welcome relief.
Basically, they just had to keep up with their paperwork and have it in line just in case the money did come down from Washington, right? That's
exactly right, Butch. That's exactly right.
And it's just for blueberries, right?
One particular part of it is just for blueberries, but it's a comprehensive disaster aid bill, as I mentioned before, and it's worth mentioning that there is money in there for forest land as well. That was something that was impacted during Hurricane Michael, and Georgia's the #1 forestry state in the nation, and we have a lot of forest land, a lot of private ownership of forest land, and there's money in there for that as well.
Okay.
Hey, anything else going on in Washington we need to know about?
Yeah, lots going on in Washington we need to know about.
I understand you're going to be here in Wayne County shortly, though, for a fundraising event, right, next week? Is that correct? Yeah,
we'll be down there on the 17th. Certainly looking forward to being down there. Always a pleasure to be in Wayne County. There's no question about that. But we start the appropriation process next week. We're in tomorrow, and then we're out Thursday and Friday back in the district, and then next week will be a long week. Next week will be a lot of late-night votes with the appropriations process, but it'll be interesting to see how the Democrats handle this. They haven't really set any budget caps, which, they'll probably exceed those and whenever they're appropriating, which makes no sense whatsoever. But then again, they're in the majority now. We're not. So.
And I know that the tariff situation has been with China, Mexico, and other countries have been the subject of a lot of debate lately. What does it mean for the farmers and the ranchers and landowners here in our area when it comes to the tariffs? I know that a lot of them are concerned about it.
They are concerned, and it has had an impact on some of our farmers, and some of them have inquired about how can they get relief from this, and there are some processes by which they can get some relief. And, look, I support the president and what he's trying to do. We have to call China out. If we don't do that now, we'll never do it. They are a bad actor, and they need to be held accountable. But it's going to have some short-term pain for many of our farmers and for many Americans. And we have to understand that there's going to be some short-term pain in order to have some long-term gain. The long game I like, and in fact, if the president, if I were advising the president, I'd say, man, step it up. I mean, let's put the pedal to the metal, and let's do this and end it once and for all with China. Let's just let's put a hurting on them that will make them change their ways, and that's what we've got to do.
And your views on the tariffs with Mexico to help hopefully stem some of this thousands of people that try to get over the border every single week?
Well, it's unfortunate that it's reached this point, and it's unfortunate that the president's having to use this tool in his tool chest in order to address a situation that truly is a crisis. There is a crisis at our border, and the president's made it clear to Mexico that, we got to have your help here. And, if that doesn't happen, then we're looking at the tariff situation.
And also, how do some politicians, elected officials, bureaucrats, how do they not see this as a crisis? I mean, all they'd have to do is to go down there and see the chaos. I mean, you see it on television, you see it on the internet, you hear about it on radio, and see it in newspapers about just the total chaos down there and what it's causing and the problems it's causing for not only those families and people coming across, but also for our country itself.
No question about it, Butch, and I couldn't agree with you more. I've been to the border. I've seen it firsthand. My first session up here, I served on the Homeland Security Committee, and I went with that committee down to California. I went to Arizona. I went to Texas, and I saw it firsthand. I saw what a crisis it was then. I can only imagine what it is now, and we have witnessed it. And we're talking about border security. People get tied up in the fact that, build a wall, build a wall. Well, it's more than just build a wall. I mean, it's a combination of different things. Yes, there are places where a wall is needed, but it's also boots on the ground. It's also technology. The whole key is just securing our border. And what industrialized nation does not secure their borders? And we have to do that.
I mean, any country has to do it. Aren't there federal laws that are on the books right now that says the fact that these people just cannot walk across, that they have to go back? I mean, aren't they federal laws that need to be enforced, and why are some people just overlooking them?
Well, that's exactly right, and that's the question that a lot of people are asking, particularly law enforcement officers and officials down on the border. They're asking the same thing. We've got laws against this. We need help in enforcing those laws, and that's why the president has tried to send, in some cases, to send troops down there to enforce the laws that are already on the books. Look, if you want to talk to someone who is offended by illegal immigrants coming into this country, talk to someone who's gone through the process of becoming a citizen and spent that money, which is no small sum for a lot of people. I mean, you're talking about $5,000-$7,000, which is a lot of money, and they've gone through that process. Ask them how they feel about people coming in here illegally, and I can assure you they will tell you they're as opposed to it as anyone.
Congressman Betty Carter on the phone with us this morning here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. So you got all these people coming across the border. What happens to them when they come across and they're just let go or not found or whatever? Where do they go? How do they survive?
Well, that's the big point of contention now. The Democrats are saying, you're putting them in cages and you're caging them like animals. No, I've been down there. I've seen what they're doing. They've got them secured, and they're trying their best to keep families together. But so often, you've got coyotes who are bringing these people over here who are exploiting them. And let me tell you, in my opinion, the Democrats are adding to this disaster by not securing our borders. By not securing our borders, we're sending a message to those parents who are sending their children up here that, hey, if they come up here, they got a chance of getting in. And they're risking this. They're risking them being exploited. They're risking them being physically harmed. And that's our responsibility. If we had secure borders, if they knew you're not going to get in, then they wouldn't take that risk of sending their children up here with a coyote or whoever.
And you hear a lot about criminals coming across from a lot of countries down there in Latin America and South America, and also that you have a lot of landowners along the border that are just terrified of the cartels and what they do down there along the border. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. When I was down there, we went to Arizona. Now, I mentioned before, a fence is not going to work in all areas. And one instance of that is Arizona. Arizona is a very rugged terrain, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to put a fence there. That's where you need technology. That's where you need boots on the ground. But they did have a fence in one certain area, and they showed us that fence, and it was a 10-foot fence. And the week before, some people had cut it in half, made it a 5-foot fence, and put rails on it so that they could drive a truck over it. And they drove the truck over that on the ramps. It was just unbelievable what they're resorting to.
Does it seem like there's more people trying to get across since Trump has been president, or are there just more media coverage on it?
Well, it's probably both, and there's no question that the pace has picked up with the number of people who are trying to come over here for a couple of reasons, I suspect. One might be that they know that Trump is trying to close the border, and they want to get up here before he does close it. Another is that, as I mentioned before, listen, we've got a very porous border down there. There are areas that we really have to tighten up, and if they know there's an opportunity for them to get through, they're going to come through, seeking, seeking a better life, and we've got to address this. There's just no reason why we should let this go on in our country.
Congressman Carter, we know that you're the only elected pharmacist in the House of Representatives, and you've been working in a lot of areas that you've seen as problems as being a pharmacist for so many years. How's that battle going?
Well, it's going well. Prescription drug pricing and the opioid epidemic are two issues that I have focused on as a member of Congress, and trying to bring my professional expertise to light here and utilizing that. And I've been fortunate enough to be named to the Health Subcommittee where I can have an impact on both of those issues. Prescription drug pricing is something that the administration and the president have made a major initiative, and there's no question about it. And listen, that's a bipartisan issue. That impacts everyone. And there's not a price for Democrats, a price for Republicans. The only price we know is a high price. It's high for everyone. We continue to address that, and we've made some progress. In one of the bills that I'm most proud of is the gag clause bill that I was able to get passed, and that now a pharmacist can tell you, hey, if you don't use your insurance, if you just pay for this out of pocket, you can get it cheaper than if you use your insurance.
Yeah,
there's no reason why a pharmacist shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, that's common sense there. So we were able to get that passed, where now a pharmacist is not going to be penalized for telling you that. We continue to work on the opioid epidemic, which impacts all of our country. Over 117 people every day dying as a result of the opioid epidemic. It's a tough issue to get your arms around, but at the same time, and there's not one silver bullet. There are a number of solutions to this, and we continue to focus on those.
Congressman Carter, there's been a lot of bipartisan talk about our infrastructure here in the United States, as we've got a lot of old bridges, old roads, a lot of old infrastructure, and we need to modernize it and fix it up. How's that going up there across the aisles?
Well, at one time I felt like we had the momentum to where we were going to be able to get an infrastructure bill passed. And again, this is nonpartisan issues. This is something that we should all be able to work on together. Unfortunately, the president had a meeting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and he left that meeting with kind of a breakdown, if you will, of communication between the Democratic leadership and the president. And I don't know how much of the infrastructure we're going to be able to address now, but I know that it continues to be on the priority list for the president and part of his major initiatives.
Do y'all ever get tired of the infighting up there as much as we do down here, just the average Joe citizen, when it seems like just nobody can get along and they're just trying to up themselves one over the other person or put the other person down? I mean, that's not what we hire elected officials to do, is to battle between each other all the time.
Well, you're right, Butch, and it is very sad. But there are a lot of times when we do get things done, and just like the disaster aid, I mean, it was not easy. It took way too long to get done, but we finally did reach resolution here, and now we've got help on the way. So this is good news. This is an example of where we worked our way through it and finally came up with a good product. So I'm very proud of that. There are times when we do come together and we do pass legislation, look, the big issues are tough. Immigration's a tough issue, no question about it. Now, I get it. I know that we were elected to address tough issues, and we should be addressing them, and we continue to try to do that. But for the most part, I'd say, 70, 75% of the things that we do are in a bipartisan fashion. But unfortunately, they don't get much of the press.
Yeah, that didn't make headlines. Bob, questions, comments for the congressman?
Just one other topic, Congressman, before I let you go. Another mass shooting in Virginia. Seems like a daily occurrence or multi-occurrence. Anything can be done?
Well, certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who was impacted in Virginia Beach. What a bizarre situation. I mean, this is a long-term employee who has not shown any signs at all of any kind of mental health issues, and then whatever, something snaps, and I don't know how you address that. I mean, you can have all the gun laws in the world, and of course, as you know, I'm a big Second Amendment supporter, and continue to be that, and believe in our right to bear arms. But at the same time, we've got to address mental health issues in our country. And I feel like we're making progress on that. We've actually passed some legislation that has made grants available that are being utilized. But at the same time, how do you address a situation with a long-term employee like that who just, I don't think they've even identified a motive yet.
Okay, let's get things down here a little closer to home here. What about, where are things with the port in Savannah right now in terms of the dredging and getting ready for these big ships to come in?
Well, there's more good news because we got full funding this year, over $131 million. One more year, if we can get between $70 and $80 million next year, we should see that project completed by 2021. And of course, that project, when completed, is going to be another economic boom to our area. So, and that has a ripple effect, not only as far as southeast Georgia, but I mean the whole southeast United States. I mean, that port of Savannah reaches all the way up into the Ohio Valley and the impact that it has.
Does a new bridge have to be built there for these bigger ships to come in there across the Savannah River in downtown Savannah, or is the one right down tall enough to be able to handle these ships?
Well, leadership and the board of directors at ports have already indicated that we need to start looking at a new bridge. There's no question about it. It's got to be raised. And when I first heard that, I was very upset. But then when it was explained to me that that bridge was built in the 80s, it was built as a 50-year bridge. Well, that was 30 years ago. It's probably going to take another 20 years before we get it to completion. So now's the time for us to get started, and it does make sense now that for a 50-year bridge that it's the lifespan is it's at that point where we need to start planning for it now.
Okay, Bob, final comments or questions for our congressman this morning?
I just appreciate him calling in. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank y'all. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Congressman Buddy Carter here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. Congressman Buddy Carter calling in from Washington, and he'll be in Jesup next week. And the world-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Mike Birch Ford in Blackshear, by Murphy Builder Supply or Northeast Broad Street in downtown Jesup, and by the Women's Health Center in downtown Jesup.
The world famous Butch and Bob Show.